IVM. Hi, we're Team Splainer. Welcome to an all-new episode of Press Decode, a weekly podcast where we take Splainer's mission to declutter the news one step further. Check out our newsletter for more stories and follow us at SplainerIn to keep up with all the fun things we plan for our Splainer fam. So sit back, relax, and don't let the news give you the blues. I'm Adya, and I have with me Vagda, Prafula, and Sara. Take it away, Vagda.
Hi, I'm Vagda. I'm a proud cancelist of the hustle culture.
Hi, I'm Prafula Grace, resident grump and self-professed old person. Mentally, I'm yelling at these kids to get off my lawn.
Wow, someone's finally here to stake their claim to be the in-house grumps. Anyway, I'm Sara. Some say I'm funny, some others would argue I am the joke. I guess you guys can listen in and decide for yourselves.
Sara, I do think there can be two resident grumps, so I don't think that's off your plate yet. I'm Adya, your host for the day. Currently juggling adulting and studying, and definitely hitting new highs with my cooking every week. For real though, like aloo pyaz sandwich for breakfast is my highest so far, and I'm very proud of it. Anyway, we have 3 segments for you today. In our big story, we will be discussing the latest hunt involving a 13-year-old tiger named MDT-23 who has been suspected of killing 4 people. Wildlife activists are unhappy about the hunt, and the Madras High Court stepped in to help preserve its life. What's really going on? In our Food for Thought segment, we will be talking about loud grannies in public spaces in China, whose dancing has led to great irritation among neighbors who want to put a stop to it. Finally, we will be roasting and toasting our fave and least fave items. And that's like 4 more pieces of news for you to show off about knowing, so you might as well stick around. Alright, let's begin with our big story. So as mentioned earlier, there is a 13-year-old tiger called MDT-23 on the loose being chased by forest officials as it is suspected of killing 4 human beings, the latest being a tribal man on October 1st. On Tuesday, it was caught on camera and forest officials threw a dart at it, but it escaped. Originally part of the Mudumalai Forest Reserve in Tamil Nadu, it seems to now have left the reserve, wandering on the outskirts. The field director of the forest range suspects it was driven out of the reserve due to a territorial dispute. Except there's no real proof of the tiger having killed those human beings. The hunt order issued by the Tamil Nadu Chief Wildlife Warden is based on assumptions. Even if the tiger did kill the tribals, it indicates a failure on the part of the forestry department, which is bound by law to manage human-animal conflicts. And lastly, Article 21 of the Constitution of India states that animals have the right to life as well. The reason I'm stating these facts is that even though there is no intent to kill so far by forest officials, and the Madras High Court has clearly stated in its order that life must be preserved, there is worry that it may turn into a similar case as that of Avni, a tigress suspected of killing 13 people in 2018. She was shot down in a messy encounter, and later post-mortem reports showed no human remains in her system. So the Supreme Court has now demanded more proof of her being a human killer, which is kinda too little too late. Even so, some ecologists claim that it may be better to kill the tiger than relocate it to another part of the reserve, as that move could prove fatal in terms of territorial disputes yet again with other tigers. And of course, moving it to a zoo would be very cruel. Also, I read that ironically, conservation efforts got us here. I mean, on the outside, it sounds great, but like our numbers are up. But I really want more details. So, Sara, will you start us off?
Okay, so even though when you point it out, it does sort of make sense. The most mind-boggling reason of why we're here is the massive boom in tiger numbers. Our conservation efforts have worked spectacularly. According to a 2018 census, there were 2,967 tigers in India. That's more than double the number in 2006. And 65% of these live in forest reserves, which are now we have 50 forest reserves in the country, up from just 9 in 1973. But the fact is, tigers need a lot of territory to feed freely and to exist without conflict, either with humans or with other tigers. Currently, India's tiger reserves are completely saturated, considering we house about 70% of the world's tigers. And thus, now the task at hand is, in terms of tiger conservation, is not how to increase numbers, but to better manage the abundant tigers that already exist. according to the National Tiger Conservation Authority, currently India can have only a maximum of 3,000 tigers. So unless tiger habitats are created, there is no point in increasing numbers. We're only going to...
Wait 1 second. So 2018 census, we already reached almost like our peak.
Yes.
Oh.
So it's only going to get worse from here in terms of human-animal conflict. Unless our forest reserves actually grow. So a veteran biologist called A.K. Ullas Karant takes an even more controversial take on these conservation efforts. He basically calls it a misnomer and instead terms the exercise an artificial, excessive, and frankly misguided manipulation of vegetation and water, which has led to the increase in prey densities. And as a result, the numbers of tigers have reached unnaturally high levels.
Unnaturally high.
Yes. And he is a biologist who specializes in tigers.
Okay.
He says, and I quote, "We're turning our tiger habitats into Disneylands, and the ignorant tourists think that this is a great idea."
There's so much Disneyland comparison been happening recently.
That's true. Jallianwala Bagh to tiger conservation.
Clearly,
Whoa.
this country is an amusement park with all the shit it's doing.
That is a very good. I mean, we don't have Ragini today, but the analysis is on point.
I'm filling in for her.
Yes.
Amen. So a major fear, like I said, is that 65% of the country's tiger population live in just 50 forest reserves that we have. And this spans about 71,027 square kilometers. But of this whole area, only 40,340 square kilometers is what they term co-tiger habitat. The rest of it is buffer forests. And these buffer forests are actually very important to keep distance between human settlements and tiger habitats. But as the numbers swell up, the tigers will go into the buffer zones and we're left with cases like those of Avni and MDT 23.
So the numbers are now up, and this is clearly both good and bad because we've basically brought them back from extinction. But I'm going to be that person and ask, do we really have the right numbers? Because I do understand that there are methods that have been developed over the years and so on, but fudging the numbers, whether intentionally or by error, is not all that new in this country,
Sarah, would you like to?
We should have you more often, Professor. I love this. I love the energy you bring here.
Go Grumps, as I said before.
So it's been said that India has seen a 33% jump in the overall population, and that we're the safest habitat in the world for tigers, and that the forest cover has drastically improved. And some undue credit has also been given here and there, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But if we actually listen to the experts, they have some very real concerns. So originally, when we were tracking tigers, we used to track them with something called the Pug Mark Method, where you're effectively just tracking the animal using the prints on the ground. And obviously, this is not going to be the most effective method. And we abandoned this method for the tiger census after 2004.
Oh my God. I'm glad that this has been abandoned, because I want to say how many safaris I have been on and tried to locate a tiger with, "Arey, dekho, yahan pe pug mark hai, yahan pe se abhi tiger gaya hai." It's a really frustrating exercise, and I cannot believe that this was the official method of finding out how many tigers there are.
I'm convinced some reserves that they're just randomly making marks before every. Just say. Call me out, but I'm convinced.
Yes, I've considered that,
For the first time, I do agree with you. I think
I have the
same.
worst luck on safaris.
No, so but what happened in 2004? How come we changed the method?
I'm so glad you asked, because this method actually failed to detect that there was a complete extinction of tigers in the Sariska Reserve.
Oh my...
What?
If you can believe that.
I'm from the Sariska area reserve thing.
Yeah, no wonder you can't see anything. Every time you go to Sariska, I think the last time I went to Sariska and I did not see a tiger, obviously, but there was an enclosure, like a grilled enclosure in which there was one tiger. I think he was injured or something, and that's why he was in that enclosure. So until he recovered, he wouldn't have been moved out of that enclosure. But that makes
Oh my God.
a lot of sense.
I feel like they use these enclosures as to say, oh yeah, we have tigers, you just can't see them.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Possible.
Yeah.
So now we're using this thing called a double sample method, which uses, and I'm quoting, ground surveys of all tiger habitats, estimating prey abundance, understanding habitat characteristics, mapping other tiger signs, and camera trap pictures of tigers. I don't know what mapping other tiger signs means, but this is still a little better than just using pug marks, because pug marks are now correlated to the pictures that we're taking of the tigers in small regions, so that we now have a better guesstimate in the overall region. And also, I'm generally not a fan of numbers, but stats are very misleading by nature. For example, between 2006 and 2014, tiger habitats went down by 22%, but the cat population grew by 16% somehow.
What?
So it goes without saying that you can't actually, number each tiger to the decimal point. But scientists are telling us that we need to at least take the statistics with a pinch of salt or, context.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the government, I think the government can use these guidelines also.
always hating.
And we are the grumps, sure.
So we don't know if the numbers are true, but we know the predominant narrative to conserve biodiversity is established by a policymaker sitting in some big city, far away from the subjects of the policy, that is, the forest dwellers and the animals concerned. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's all with good intention. And in the 70s, when the threat of tiger extinction loomed large, all the attention was given to establishing special reserves with the highest of restrictions. We were making special tiger corridors. We have tiger celebs. Remember Machli?
Machli?
Like fish.
No, Machli was a tiger queen of Ranthambore. She was literally, when she died in 2016, Indian Express ran the centerpiece, the whole 2 pages devoted to her and her life. She's a celeb, guys. Look her up.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. I remember
Wow.
that center spread.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tiger called Machli. I see it.
She was a big deal. So the point is that we made such tiger reserves, special reserves. We have celebrities and tigers. There's so much attention to it, all of which is intended to bring up our numbers. And it did, apparently, or not. We don't know. But at what cost, right? National parks and all these conservation areas were established and are managed largely in disregard for historical, cultural, and socioeconomic realities of the forest dwellers. And research demonstrates that the human cost involved in conservation is largely ignored. It's now we know, with human-animal conflict. According to one study of 26 areas in India, between 1999 to 2020, India displaced 13,445 families. And that's just dislocation. Obviously, dislocation is coming without consent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not asking the tribals whether you want to move. You just have to move. And that's just dislocation. Then there's loss of human life and livestock. But what is truly the cause of human-animal conflict? And like Sarah said, the area for our reserves, even right now, I mean, we're already at limit. We can't possibly have more tigers. And even the ones that we have now, according to a conservationist at the Wildlife Conservation Trust in Mumbai, our national parks are average 1,000 square kilometers, which is 50 kilometers by 20 kilometers. And a tiger can walk 20 kilometers in a night and cross from one edge to the other. So
That explains so much.
Obviously, there's going to be human-animal conflict. I mean, yes, you've created this reserve, but how big is the reserve? And tigers need a lot of territory. So now they have smaller habitat, and where will they go if not beyond the reserve? So there you have it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we come to the end of this segment. We will be back after a short break. You are listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring your very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network. We're Team Splainer and make sure you follow us at SplainerIn on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with the Splainer fam. We're now ready for some food for thought. This one is especially fun. So all over China's public squares and gardens, middle-aged and older women gather and get their groove on to loud music. Sounds adorably fun, right? Well, not to people around who want some peace and quiet. But just like we could never tell our Padoswali aunties to be quieter when gossiping about Sharma ji ke do bete, there's no way for people around to tell these grannies to turn it down either. How do you do it? Well, you resort to technology, of course. And that's what they did. The latest weapon in this war, as the tabloids seem to report, is a remote stun gun style device that claims to be able to disable a speaker from 50 meters away. According to The Guardian, the reviews are great. But how great is it for the women who are silently being displaced from places meant to be for public news? Is it a generational thing? And how has a neighborhood problem of aunties led to a literal new tech development? I have too many questions, you guys, but Vagda, I know your fave bit is the generation gap, considering, please just get us started.
Excuse me.
Here's some food for thought.
Yeah, that is the
Resident Grump. Guest Resident Grump.
Okay. So when I first got to know about this story, I imagined kids playing gully cricket. Or Uncle G's laughing for their health in the neighborhood park.
Oh God.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Smashing windows with gully cricket and still no one made a device to disable that. Like, I don't understand.
Guys, this is a huge thing. Grannies dancing in public spaces in China is called square dancing. It has a very organized setup. People have like very organized groups in which they like not donate, but like contribute money, and that money is used by the organizer for like all kinds of logistical music speakers and stuff like that. So what I mean by saying this is just that it's very, very organized. Estimates say that there are 100 million dancing grannies in China.
Wow.
Dancing grannies, it's a thing.
The
so
practice has been around for millennia, apparently. Square dancing can be found in ancient Chinese history also. And in the modern day, it was popularized among women during the Cultural Revolution, with folk dances performed as propaganda. Then there are older reports from New York Times that found some group in Beijing dancing every night wearing military uniforms and using toy guns as props to songs of the revolution era, like without the Communist Party, there would be no new China.
Of course.
That's slightly disturbing. But
Yeah. It became popular as a hobby in the 1990s as women retired and moved to cities. And now that their grown-up children are not around, this is a good way for them to socialize and also to keep fit. And the Chinese government also likes it. I mean, they kind of like encourage it, that people should stay fit, and just blossomed into this great, wonderful thing that keeps people healthy and happy. But the level of the hobby has reached such heights that people complain it's gotten out of control, with competing groups, blasting their music over each other and bullying people who come and intervene to stop doing the dancing and the stop the music because it's too loud. But can you imagine trying to intervene, going to a group of laughing Uncle G's, tell them to shut up and let you sleep in peace? This question is not to you guys. This question is actually to the listener. Hey, because we start work at 7 a.m. We don't get to sleep anyway.
welcome to journalism.
But square dancing has been mired in controversy for years over noise pollution. The young largely view it as a generational issue, who think that most of the dancing grannies are the products of the Red Guard era, and that they don't respect society or the environment. And the Guardian that Adya spoke about has reports of groups arguing and fighting with basketball players to take over their court and dance there. And in one case, they broke into a football field and stopped the game to dance in the space.
Oh my God.
That led to like police response, like some arrests and stuff happened. Tianjin city has regulations that empower the police to impose fines on the groups if their music is too loud.
Wow.
I mean, that's the level of the hobby. It's so organized that cities have regulations on which group can have how much decibel of music. हमारे यहाँ पे शादी होती है ना शाम को 10:30 बजे का रूल होता है कि 10:30 बजे के बाद no noise pollution. But what happens?
That's not a rule that's followed. That rules are meant to be broken, Vagda.
Oh my God, it's 7th grade, Sarah.
I think that it's established that Sarah is not a good influence.
There we
Wow.
go.
Okay then.
Point is that if the dancing grannies don't dance outside in squares, where else do they dance? Someone came up with a better solution last year and gave them all Bluetooth headphones.
Okay. That is definitely one solution.
Vibes.
Though I find these silent disco clubbing thingies very weird. Like I think people are tripping when I see them dance, but I get it.
Yeah, it sounds wild. Like, I don't know if I would enjoy that. I would need everyone to hear the same music that I'm listening to and,
I mean, they probably are. That's how technology works.
It's camp, guys.
like you dance together, you sing together, you scream together,
Right? Okay, I like the noise, just saying. But I think the whole story actually got me thinking about how community spaces actually worked in China. And I wasn't surprised in the least about what I found out. Basically, there was rapid urban development in the country that led to a lot of the older neighborhoods, the kinds that allowed for a sense of community, to be razed down to make way for massive high-rise apartments that were just not conducive to an informal community. And add to this, culturally very similar to India, even Chinese families tend to avoid sending the elderly to nursing homes or old age homes. So they end up in urban centers with the younger and often busier generation. And these older people just find themselves stuck in the city, lacking the intimacy and familiarity that they were used to. So, well, they went and found themselves a solution in bringing back the culture of square dancing. And in doing so, they're honestly just exercising a very basic right to use public spaces. It has come to become a low-cost way for them to both socialize and stay fit. Okay, I get it has gone too far, but again, how do you decide who uses public spaces? Like, for anyone who's still mad at them, they really need to redirect their annoyance towards the severe lack of public amenities for the elderly.
That's true. I mean, that football field
Yeah.
exists for who, right? You
Yeah.
have a football field. You presume that
Exactly.
young people will play football, but why don't you assume that dancing grannies will dance?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all this is despite the fact that China's population is aging rapidly. By 2030, there will be an estimated 360 million Chinese over the age of 60. And yet, the government is still to provide the old with appropriate public sports or leisure facilities. Okay, don't get me wrong again. Concerns about noise and disruption to neighbors are not wildly incorrect, but they should be dealt with modest regulations like, I don't know, having timings for square dancing or not allowing it to happen during exams or whatever, or like certain times. But other than that, this whole story is really a slap in the face of urban planners who don't actually make the city accessible to the elderly in a way that the elderly need, not in the way that looks good.
Yeah, agreed.
And also this, pseudo-cultural war between the old and the young has reached a point where these people, like the elderly, get downright disgusting things thrown at them, like stinky tofu and even feces at some point.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah.
not okay. That's
Actually want to come in here. There was one report that I remember reading. Someone actually opened fire on them and hurt a granny in her
What?
leg. Because he was additionally
Oh my
angry because I
God.
think he asked, his car got stuck or something and he said, "Can you help me?" They said, "No, we're dancing." So then he just flipped.
Yeah, so you made my point for me, basically, that there's a fair amount of entitlement on both sides. But, there has to be a better way, a less hostile way around this mess. Like, you can't open fire on people and you can't throw feces at people. We're not monkeys.
Yeah.
All this to say, older people do need to, embrace the headphone life. It is high time.
Yes.
I wouldn't embrace the headphone life though. So
I mean, do you play WhatsApp videos out loud so your entire apartment can hear? I don't.
no, I'm too embarrassed to do that. I would never do that.
Oh my God. The last time I traveled in a train, there was so many elder people with their WhatsApp videos playing out loud.
Oh, I miss the Delhi Metro and Bombay local.
I was just about to say Delhi Metro, all the memories that I have, everything.
I
that
love
I've
the
heard.
confidence that these people have that my videos need to be heard by everyone around me. And I'm like, please don't listen to my music. I love it. I love it because I don't have to go through it, but
Oh, to live in the West. But it's come to this point where someone has gone and actually developed tech to stop this practice, and this blows my mind. It's being called a stun gun for speakers. And, me being me, I tried to go on the Taobao website. It took ages to load, but I did end up finding a picture. It does not look like a stun gun, unfortunately. It looks like a flashlight, but...
What? So disappointing.
So disappointing. So cool it had been. But honestly, it's so disturbing that so much time and thought and money has been put into sitting down, ideating and manufacturing this, and the fact that the demand is so large.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more disturbing than it is funny, because as amusing as the thought of switching off some rando's music, like in the metro or something from a few feet away is, the humanities term for it, I am calling it, is being dickish. The correct humanities term.
Yes.
But I really think we could use this stun gun for like rallies, like political rallies in India. Just 50 feet away, turn off their speaker.
Very good idea.
Here, my solution to avoiding this, or, if you really want to stun somebody in public, you just airdrop them a meme they will never understand from a corner of the internet that is so niche. And then they'll just have it on their phone.
No, people do not do this airdropping tricks. I've heard of like other things being airdropped that should never be airdropped. Like vulgar images.
Okay, moving on swiftly.
Yes, from men.
That changed rapidly.
Deteriorated rapidly. Sorry.
So I think my problem with tech like this is that it often evolves into or inspires something so much more sinister. Because if you look at like anti-homeless infrastructure, all this hostile architecture uses technology and the environment to its advantage.
Yeah.
And it's always come from, some really clever invention to then affect people that rely on public spaces more than others do. And some people may think I'm reaching for straws here, but what this device and, anti-homeless infrastructure have in common is the focus on preserving certain elements of, a certain place, like the aesthetics or, peace and quiet in say, societies with high-rise buildings. But all this comes at the expense of someone else's dignity, because imagine that you're spending time in public spaces and someone just, turns your music off or kicks you out, essentially. And what's ironic is that when, these stupid flash mobs stop traffic, or, these annoying influencers do something crazy in public, they're not, forcibly kicked out, but they're asked to shut up and leave. The point is, even though they're being asked to leave, they're being told to leave, they're being asked, and instead of, shutting off their music randomly and then saying, okay, get out.
Yeah. Much more disrespectful this way. Yeah.
So dancing grannies for the win. Please continue dancing.
I feel like they'll dance anyway.
On that fun note, we come to the end of our second segment. We will be right back after a short break. You are listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus is joined by writer-director Faraz Arif Ansari to talk about their critically acclaimed short films, Sisak, Siberia, and the recent hit Shir Korma. On The Habit Coach, Ashton introduces us to Avinash BR, co-founder of Deep Rooted Company, and his take on the quality of the food and supply chain in India and current trends in the farming sector. On Naan Curry, Sadaf and Archit talk about the humble potato, right from its origin and trade history to the various ways it can be used in dishes and its health benefits. On All Things Policy, Aditya Ramanathan joins Aditya Parekh to discuss the UK's first ever national space strategy document and the lessons it may hold for India. And on Say No to Drama, Chetna slices through the drama of bad boss behavior and shares what it takes to be a good boss. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our others for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really appreciate you spreading this. Word of mouth helps a lot. And finally, this week, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Slay Coffee, and Intel. We really appreciate the support.
Welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network. It's time for our final segment this week, Roast or Toast. Who wants to start?
Okay, so since I said I'm the resident grump, I feel like I have to, live up to it now. So I'm going to be a hater.
Beautiful.
Yes, welcome to the club.
So my least favorite for this week is Dave Chapelle and his transphobia.
Oh God.
I'm pretty sure we've heard about it.
Everyone's least fave.
Yeah.
TBH.
I like to describe his brand of comedy this way. He's inspired many edgy comedy bros. They're
Oh God.
the worst. So anyway, in his newest special, which is about his 4th or 5th, he goes on a rant about so-called cancel culture and then proceeds to call himself Team Turf, which, yuck. So,
Yuck.
I mean, there is being transphobic and there is taking pride in being transphobic, which super weird.
The entitlement to be able to do that, though.
Oh, yeah. So much confidence also to then rant about, I'm going to get
Exactly.
cancelled after this.
Yeah, no shit. We should have been cancelled
Mm.
years ago, probably.
And yet we are here. And now he's using language that is super harmful, especially for, anybody who identifies as trans, gender non-conforming or non-binary, or just, queer folks overall also. So, a couple of Netflix employees spoke up against the special saying, we can't do anything about it, but as Netflix, we're launching it, we are not happy about it. And here's the kicker. One of the employees, so a couple of employees were suspended earlier this week, and one of the employees who was suspended identifies as trans and queer.
Oh, I did not know.
Which adds insult to injury.
Of course.
She's out as trans and very vocal about it and saying that, hey, this hurts my community, and getting suspended for it just is horrible. And obviously
Yeah,
Netflix has gone on to, deny suspending anybody for talking bad about the special because, of course they did. And the co-CEO of the company spoke to employees in a meeting, and he spoke about how they're not going to take the special down because Chappelle's comedy pushes boundaries, and how it's his specials have won so many awards. It's one of their most awarded things on the platform, apparently. And he even spoke about giving artists creative freedom, to which somebody on Twitter brought this to my notice. Where was this creative freedom when they pulled an episode of Hassan Minaj's Patriot Act because the Saudi government asked Netflix to pretty please remove it? They removed it without any pushback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have too many thoughts on this, and I am very upset by this.
I'm going to completely
Anyway.
change the tone. Sorry, not sorry. But this is a really stupid least fave item, but allow me to explain myself. Basically, there were lots of reports in the UK that Russian spies stole the blueprint for the AstraZeneca vaccine and used it to create their own Sputnik V jab. The story was literally everywhere, and I was so invested in the drama that would come out of it. Alas, Gizmodo pointed out that the original source was a single piece in The Sun, a tabloid for those of you who don't know, which cites unnamed security services.
Reminds me of Indian journalism and its everlasting love affair with government sources.
Unnamed
Quotes.
government sources.
Oof. Juicier.
Anyway, Gizmodo also very rightly points out that, well, even if the Russians stole the blueprint, it was to make a vaccine to end a once-in-a-century pandemic. Yep, so mostly a story with no real point. But man, I don't like this only because can you imagine the sheer amount of global political bickering we could have witnessed if this was real? We're the losers.
Yeah, you
missed
really
out.
missed it, Sarah.
We missed out. Okay, I'm going to change the tone around 180 degrees to favorite items. My favorite item this week is very basic for topical and very obvious reasons. It is that the UK is finally accepting Covishield. Not like it shouldn't have accepted it months ago, because it literally came from AstraZeneca, which is like, I was so annoyed. Anyway,
This is coming from such a personal space.
not at all. I'm very objective.
Yeah, okay.
No more quarantining when I'm back from Chutti. Also, you guys can visit now because tourist visa. So I really think it's a win-win all around.
Yes, it was the vaccine that was stopping me.
No.
It was the quarantining and yes.
Sarah, my point is I'm inviting you. Oh my God. You just do not call yourself not a grump, because that's all I see.
Okay, so this one is not news per se, but because it's a bit of history from the Smart and Curious section of Explainer on Wednesday. But it was news to me. So did you know that Lakmé, the brand, was a brainchild of Jawaharlal Nehru?
What?
Oh my God.
He thought women didn't have many options in Indian cosmetics and they spent too much on foreign cosmetics and we were losing money. Drain of wealth.
Atmanirbharta.
Yes, Atmanirbharta. Literally.
Make in India before make in India. Oh my God. Someone's not going to be happy about this comparison.
It was obviously a man who thought, oh, the women are spending too much on makeup.
Oh, but he's like,
There we go.
yeah, that's true. Damn, this was my fave item, yeah. But anyway, so he thought women didn't have many options in cosmetics and collaborated with a French company. And so the name Lakmé also is apparently French for Lakshmi.
What? Wow.
This gets wilder by the second.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was inspired by apparently a famous opera of this name, Lakmé. And that's why it's called Lakmé.
I love this story.
I'm thinking about calling every
Aww.
Lakshmi Lakmé.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Thinking about it.
Okay. And that was our show this week. Thank you so much for joining us on Press Decode. You can catch us every Thursday on the IVM Podcast Network. And guys, please remember, don't let the news give you the blues.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
Get accustomed to womanhood.
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
Might get to wifehood
or not, choose motherhood,
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
earn a livelihood,
Change the neighborhood.
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha,
And me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point.
to station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station, and hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.